Warning, this show contains adult language. Welcome to another edition of Up and In It. I'm your host, Adrian Babishoff, and if you're new here, welcome as well. And if you're wondering what the show is about, it's entirely dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life on your own terms. Good day, my fellow Earthlings. How are you today? We are looking to talk about how to organize your life and basically practice good habits. I think a lot of us, to live a better life, to live a resilient, sustainable life, we need to understand how to work with others around us. We need to get some discipline in our lives. And there's just some things that we can do to make things a lot more pleasant and more organized. So we're going to talk about that today, and let's just jump right in. My first one, and I don't know why, a lot of people do not respond. This is ridiculous. This bothers me. We need to know when you send a message out, you at least get an okay. I learned from my ex-wife, we have stuff like you got to pick up the kids earlier today or something, and there would be no response. At least I told her, just give me a K. If it's too hard for you to put okay, then just put the letter K. K. All right. We know that that's going to happen. I do like getting things in writing through text, emails, voice messages is okay as well. But give me a K, that's like your signature, like, all right, you're going to show up at this time, and you actually confirmed it. I don't know how many times in life that in business and day-to-day personal lives and stuff like that, when you send a message out, you kind of want to get the okay that you received it so that everything's all set. Because if people just ignore the message, and I don't know what's going on in our society nowadays, but it seems like a lot of people just don't care to respond. They just kind of read it and like, whatever. And the person on the other end, you guys, does not know, did you receive it? Are we good to go? So I think it's really important. I don't know if I'm overthinking this one, but I definitely want to talk about how it makes me feel empowered to know that I'm the business person, or not necessarily just the business person, but the responsible and the go-getter, right? If you're going to make something happen in your life, if you're looking to run some employees or organize something, you have to be aggressive, you have to be on top of things, and you have to be professional. I think we should be professional at everything that we do. It makes me feel empowered that I know that I've responded to every email, every voicemail, every text. And the way I look at this too is to organize your life, and just a good, healthy life practice is to always get back to people. Whether you're interested or not, just I will get back to you on that as soon as I can, within 24 hours. And when I say that I feel empowered by doing things like that, it's that a lot of people know that I'm on point all the time. If you want something done, this is the guy that's going to go get stuff done. You'll get a response. You clear the desk, because there's, at the end of the day as well, when you got so much stuff going on like I do, clearing the desk every single day means doing just that, answering texts, answering phone calls and stuff. A lot of it I have to do. A lot of you guys may work 9-to-5 jobs. You have a boss, but for people, for business owners, your desk gets cluttered. And I mean your mental desk, all the phone calls, texts, emails, and all the stuff that you need to respond to. So at the end of every day, or even during the day, I like to set up a time and at least give like I said, a letter K, an okay, I got it. Thank you so much. We'll see you in this time, and I will respond back to you within X amount of days. So, yeah, I definitely noticed that personally when you do these exercises and things for yourself, where you start basically and you finish things, it makes you feel good. Like it's done. You had the signature on it. You responded basically, and now it's in their court to respond back. So, yeah, really good feeling. Listening and controlling responses. So I got a couple of notes here in sales, children, and problematic people. First of all, in sales, you want to control your responses. I know that some of you feel like when you're in sales, like you got a wonderful product, or if you have a business, I think that's like probably the 180 that we need to do. It's completely backwards. You got to stop talking when you're trying to sell people something. What you're actually doing is you need to ask questions. You need to extract the correct answer or the question, that the need, the whole, the something that they need. Sometimes people don't even know what they need. They think that they need a whole new car or a whole new house of, I don't know, the whole entire house needs to be painted, right? And then that's in their mind. That's what they're saying they want. I need to get the whole entire house painted, right? And you come in and you look and you rub the walls and you look. There's no chalking. There's nothing happening. And then you say, well, okay, well, just judging off a guesstimate, you're looking at around $4,000 or $5,000. Is that something you're interested? I mean, of course, I got to measure it and get it down precisely, but that's a pretty good roundabout estimate. And then you see them go, oh, well, that's a lot of money, and you could say, well, that's the going rate. Here's the cost of paint. Here's blah, 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 whatever. See, these people weren't educated on the matter of knowing, well, what exactly is all entailed. That's why they hired someone like you. And I'm not just talking about painting. I'm talking about anything that you're trying to sell, right? People didn't have the anticipation like, whoa, that's a lot of money. That's not in my budget. So by you asking questions, instead of going in there just measuring out the whole house, and saying, hey, let's go through all this stuff. You pick out colors and everything. And then all of a sudden we go down to the price and it's like, well, I can't afford that. You just wasted time. And you also wasted your client's time. Where if you just hammered it really quickly, asking the right type of questions, right? So now you extracted that they went, well, that's just too expensive. And then you asked another question. Well, what exactly is in your budget? Well, actually, what's your concern? What is going on here? And then, well, I got a stain in the ceiling here, and it's just bothering me, and I just figured, we might as well paint the whole house. But obviously, okay, you don't have the money to paint the whole house, but that stain. Let's focus on that stain. How about we just paint just the ceiling in this area and do necessary repairs for X, say $500. For an extra $200, we could actually paint the entire room if that's something you want to do. If not, we'll just stick to the ceiling. Wham, that sounds great, right? When do we start? So you're always wanting to ask questions and control your responses, even though when somebody else is asking, for your advice or your information. As I said, this doesn't really kind of go down to sales. Sometimes we can go down into children, where children are wanting to build something, I don't know, or go start, like my daughter, she's been trying to hey, I want to start a little business and stuff like that. And so I throw in questions. Well, how much time do you think it's going to take? You want to go rake leaves out of people's yards. Do you have a rake? Do you have a broom, a dustpan, stuff like that? Maybe a little leaf blower? No, I don't. Well, how much do you think those things cost? Well, I don't know. Well, you should look those up maybe, possibly. And then how much time do you think it's going to take by the time you go to school, do your homework, and all those kind of things there? Are you willing to sacrifice your weekend? Oh, no, I'm not. Well, what are you willing to sacrifice? Then it's well, just a few hours of this and that. Well, how much do you think you can get per job? I don't know, $10. Do you think people would pay you $10 to clean up an area? Well, I don't know. Maybe you should go test it out. Do you think you should go test it out? Well, yeah. And, so you start to organize things. So, and I think with children, listening and controlling your responses is that our first thing for parenting is we want to actually just jump in and do it for them. And that's the wrong thing to do in my book. Wrong. Back up. No more. They need to learn, and they need to learn to ask these questions. So as I said with the clients, when you're doing sales, they don't even know what the heck's going on, what they want. You have to extract that. Well, most people, what do they want out of life? They don't really know. So even the simple things. So that's when the questions that you can actually, I didn't put in my notes here, but you could actually turn around and ask yourself these times to control your responses to your emotions and things like that, and say, well, what would someone need to believe in order to experience blank, right? Wanting to go live a resilient life and buy a piece of property, what would they need to experience to believe that would bring fulfillment in their life? Well, I would create my own food, and what would it take to create your own food? What would it take? Would I want to do those type of things? Right? And you start developing a list and stuff like that. And then what can I do maybe to just do a practice run? So you're asking yourself questions now. So I think it's a very strong, powerful exercise to do, is to listen and control your responses, not just with people, but yourself. Let's talk about problematic people. I just figured this one out the other day, and I'm going to exercise this a heck of a lot more. So what we have is a lot of people who have these problems, right? It's the world screwed me up. There's a lot of things going on, and I don't know what to do. And, they just come with you with their problems. Well, if we take a look at, and we don't really talk religion or politics on here, but the King James Bible, the word of Jesus Christ is all in red. And what's interesting, if you start flipping through this book and just looking through it, you'll see there's all in red. Jesus responded to most questions with a question, just like I told you about yourself, your children, and sales. So if you have a problematic person that's saying the world sucks, man, oh, really? Why? What's your perspective? And just leave it at that. Oh, well, we have pollution and the atmosphere is warming up. We have global warming and all this. Really, what's causing the global warming? This emissions and all. Is that the only thing that's causing global warming? And you keep going on and on and on. What's nice about this is that some people who like to think that they have all the answer or everything down, all their information straight, it starts to end up with you doing nothing, like you turning this around saying, well, maybe possibly you can educate me, and then you start coming down and asking, other questions with it. Well, I thought that I heard, that they drilled into the polar ice caps and actually found that it's been way, way warmer and that we're barely, science. This portion of science says differently. Am I wrong? Have you ever seen that? Oh, no, I haven't. Because that's kind of difficult to equate what you're saying and the stuff that I found. It's two different things. I'm open to both, but I just don't know which one to choose. Which one would you choose? And why? So you keep asking questions, and what happens is as these problematic people develop, they have to keep asking themselves this question, and then they remember what they've said when you walk away from the conversation. They start to think in their heads. You start extracting. You didn't have to tell somebody they're a dummy, be rude or mean or anything like that. This is a very gentle way to actually get somebody to actually take ownership and response for their response, right? For their emotions, and to actually listen to themselves instead of having you fix everything for them. Most people, I don't think, want answers. I know that most people don't want answers to a lot of things, majority. Some of them like being where they're at. So it actually becomes irritating for people if you don't feed into their response. You choose how you respond to their response. You don't get angry and you're telling me that I'm full of beans and that you're right and your way's the only right. So it gives it a very, as I said, gentle way. And this correlates into, as I said, everything, into family relationships, with your children, with your spouses, with business partners, employees, trying to close a deal and trying to deal with very negative people. So another good practice in life, I think, is to slow down the pace of everything. And this is one that I am totally guilty of. I was raised a hard-working family. We grew up super, super poor. So we were I started working when I was 7 years old, guys. Like I was 9 years old and herding cattle, in a third world country on a farm. And 9 years old, I was plowing fields, and we got up early in the morning to milk cows before the sun came up every single day. We were always hustling, and that just stuck with me for the rest of my life, kind of shaped me. But I can choose how I can respond to it, right? I can choose to slow things down. So watching the way I drive, watching the way I eat. I've got a blown rotator muscle right now, and I've been noticing that doing exercises with it, I'm just trying to get it over with early in the morning before I go to work. Just wrenching on stuff instead of paying real close attention and doing more just some resistance training where you actually get a rubber band and you pull it. And if you just do very slowly, you never make the motions like all the way from point A to point B. You just kind of stay in the middle and you do this slowly. You get much more of a gentle workout and a lot more, I would say, effectiveness. Everything's just a lot gentle and you get way more of a workout, basically. And slowing down the pace of everything is how I've noticed to be able to observe nature, observe my gardens, observe my business, my money, my life. I think the fast pace of the rat race in our society, the way everything's going here, is that everything's so high paced that a lot of people don't have time and the will to respond correctly, to slow things down, because they're constantly getting hit by things. If we can learn to slow the pace down, then we can start to actually see things. Because it just reminds me of like being in a tornado, right? There's things just passing you by. Well, and you're in a danger zone. It's scientifically proven when you're driving in your car, your alert is it's flight or flight the whole entire time. You never know what's going to happen. The faster you drive, the more danger you're putting yourself in. Whereas the slower you drive, the lot safer you feel and a lot more aware you are of all the things happening in front of you. Right? There's a lot of cars, a lot of movement. You got diesel trucks moving to the right. You got a lot of stuff happening in front of you. Got a lot of stuff happening in the back, the side, everywhere. And it's kind of nerve-wracking. So in life, to be able to chew your own food, relax a little bit, and start to notice things. These are all these observations and things that I find in my life to empower myself, how to ask questions, to watch people's responses, to control my response and just give no response for a while, but just study the situation. What is happening here? When I didn't close a sales deal, I replay in my head, what happened? What was the time, when I'm talking to people and I could see that I lost them, what was I saying? What happened? And then how can I reconfigure that for the next time so I could do better? Just good practices in life to do, with so many things. I mean, slowing down the pace of everything should be a show in and of itself. But guys, I think a lot of us are just hurrying up, and there's nothing wrong. I'm a hustler too. I like to hurry up. I can get things done. I can do the work of like 2 to 3 men, in half the time sometimes. I've noticed a lot of when I climb up a ladder, always bring something up on my construction job. I've hired people to do the exact same job next to me. There was 3 guys. And every time I went up the structure, I brought something with me. Every time I came down, I brought something down with me. I made each move count. I started to notice how tired I would get in the meaningless movements that we have in life. There's so many movements that we do that, we're like, if you fast forward, if you videotape this and watch this just bouncing off, in the kitchen and the cleaning our houses or doing our taxes or figuring out our income or just living our lives, you would just see, wow, we have spent so much energy. And there's a battery. There's a life battery. There's an energy battery in each human being. And at the end of the day, of course, we're worn out. We've been expending our energy, spinning our wheels, and got half the things done that we could have got done. But that's caused by that the awareness of that is caused by slowing things down. The next one I have is owning your word and how to repair it if you lost it. Very important, as I said. When people respond to me, when they ask me a question, as soon as possible, within 24 hours, you're getting a response. It may just be an okay, or I got it, or I will respond back to you with an answer. You got something. So it's owning your word, and owning your word will get you very many places in this world. Guys, it's like pretty much the only thing you own. Just think about it. A lot of us don't like to think about this, but one day we're not going to be here anymore. One day the bacteria and the viruses and stuff may start to eat our bodies, and we will not be alive anymore. Our immune systems are going to start dropping, especially those of us that don't take care of ourselves. And, what are you going to take with you? You take nothing. Your stardom, your money, your house, any physical possessions, anything. The one thing that you do have is your word. And that goes with you. You owned that. And when you own it, you have people like I know who I haven't had to do it in probably 2-3 decades where I asked to borrow some money. And they said, it's like money in the bank. Of course I'll loan you money. I said, well, how much? I says, I'll need like $2,000. Right? I got this job going on. I got to do payroll. I got stiffed by a guy, so I don't have the money to pay them. And I got to figure out what to do here to stay afloat. Sure, here, why don't you take 3? That's the kind of stuff I've been getting, guys. So, yeah, it's pretty powerful. Owning your own word when anybody needs help or when basically if you ever need help, if you're ever down and out, there will be a multitude of people that will they'll be there. They'll be there because they know of how good of a person you are, how responsible and how disciplined that you are. And as my friend said, I know that you'll pay me back. I'll spend that money on something stupid maybe so you can hold it for me, right? So yeah, own your own word. And if you messed it up, I think that's pretty bad because a lot of people won't ask you for smart people like me who are go-getters and bosses of their world, owners of their word know that I need to get something done. And if somebody's told me they were going to simply show up and didn't show up or just show up and don't even clean up after themselves. I throw a party and they're just leaving their drink vessels everywhere and made a dirty mess with dishes and nobody helped any. They just made this big giant mess, nobody helped with nothing. Next time I'm not really, unless I decided that that's what I want to do, but the people who to clean up after people. But the people who I've seen, and it's happened recently, that's why it came to my mind, didn't even ask anything. They're like, hey, can I wash the dishes to clear up some space for you? I was like, wow, okay. It's a person of their word, you know? I never asked them or anything, but I know that these people saw things that need to be done. And just think about it, guys. That makes you feel good. That makes you go, wow. If I ever had to ever want to do a party or go hang out with somebody or, start a business or ask for a favor, just that gesture alone tells you a lot about somebody. So if you've ever ruined your word, I don't think it's irreparable. With someone like me, it's going to take you a while. You've got to earn it back. So to me, it's multiple favors showing up, If you say you're going to show up or something, say, hey, man, I'd like to come help, giving stuff away for free, basically. Like, hey, I'd like to just come and help you, amend your soils in your garden or rake the leaves out of your front lawn, because I know I messed up in the past, whatever. But I'll be there at 8 o'clock tomorrow, right? And then you're there at like 7:45, early, drinking a cup of coffee, like, dude, I'm here. And you keep doing that. That's when you can earn your trust back, I think. 'Cause I think a lot of people have blown this. I think a lot of people have ruined their word in this world, and they don't have anything. They basically have no place to go, and we all want to maintain that. So you need to maintain your word. It's just good practices for us to do. Knowing the true meaning of enough. So the first one I have is food. I've got negativity and money. There's a whole list of stuff that I can talk about on here. But the first thing I want to talk about when knowing the true meaning of enough, because it goes into multiple levels. Enough of food is when you eat. I don't know what's going on. I think I'm getting older now. I get the midnight munchies, guys. I usually go to bed, lay down at least, work from my phone at about 9 o'clock at night. And last night was no different. I was like, oh man, I want to go get some granola and yogurt, something to put in my stomach. And when I feel enough, do I need the food? And I feel my stomach's actually quite full. It's not hungry. The hungry. When is enough is enough. I also suffer from overeating. When I do my barbecues, my barbecue Saturdays is basically my relax day. And I did like tri-tip this week. Smoked tri-tip, smoked ribs, and what did I do? I ate and I ate and I ate and I ate. And I didn't eat until there was enough, right? You can feel when you start to get full to stop. Eat smaller quantities, and guess what? You don't feel like you need to pass out. I don't eat quite that much, but I overeat to where it's like, oh, okay. Oh, you should eat until you feel good. But I think enough is enough in life. With negativity and money, which I have on here on the bottom here, is that when is enough? When is to feel like you have enough money, or maybe you've had enough of negativity? It's getting that sense of like, you know what? I've got this. I'm too content. I'm not overfilled. I'm not underfilled. I feel just right. I don't feel tired. I don't feel unsatiated. I don't feel starving here. I'm actually not going to gain a lot of weight in my life, and I'm actually not going to gain a lot of mental weight of carrying on this negativity of people or this want for money. There's enough. How much would be enough for me to live comfortably, to not be sick to my stomach, right? With the negativity, the money, and the food. So once we design our lives and figure out what is enough, I think it's super powerful. And I think that's what we have going on in our society, where there's a lot of rich people, like millionaires, billionaires, that I like to follow to understand what they're saying. They have a lot of good stuff to say. Problem is a lot of these people want to leave a legacy behind. They need to leave something behind. And in our thoughts, when we're on our side of the fence, us po folks, right? We're looking at it going, man, I wish I was rich. If I was rich, I'd buy myself a yacht and I'd disappear and go travel the world and, do a lot. Guess what? I think a lot of these people, and it's just my opinion, have had everything, every single food that you can imagine. They've been every single place. They're billionaires. They have it all, everything. Do they have everything? Maybe it's possible that the emptiness that money and everything could bring, all the foods and stuff like that, maybe it fulfilled you for a while. But now, after you've tasted it, now the wine has no flavor. The food doesn't really taste as good. You eat sushi, Reese's or See's candies, the most expensive dark chocolate melted by glaciers in Antarctica. I don't know, some pure stuff. After a while, everything gets old. Familiarity breeds contempt, as the saying goes. But it also just bores you. Now there's no more adventure in your life. And the worst thing I can think of is that the true meaning of enough is that a lot of people don't understand what is enough. What is enlightenment? The one of the best sayings that I can think of on the moment here is that life is, you should enjoy the journey, not the destination. Life is not a destination. It's a journey. So yes, there's going to be a time when you're born, a time when you die, and in between there's a whole time that you're living. Now what happens after all that is debatable, questionable for most people. We don't want to go into those type of things. But while you're alive and you're navigating through, I think that there's the most powerful thing that each individual could understand is that there is no there to get to. So you're enjoying the journey, and let me rephrase that. Maybe there's a lot of theirs to get to. But during this journey of your life, like for me, I really enjoy doing these podcasts. So I do this podcast, I do another podcast, I got YouTube channels, I love gardening. I have many things, and if somebody looked at my life would say, this guy's splatter coated, he's never going to get anywhere. Of course I'm never going to get to one particular where. I'm going everywhere, if that makes sense. So good practices in life is to try many, many things. We talked about how people don't know what they want out of life. I think a lot of people don't know the meaning and have purpose in their life. But when we start splatter coating ourselves, not necessarily splatter coating, but trying many, many things. I've talked about this before, where it's like a tributary to a large river. If you look on a graph on a map, you'll see that there'll be many, many springs happening all over a mountain range, let's say a piece of land. And as each one of these streams find the path of least resistance, which is a good lesson in of itself from nature, a couple of them will conjoin into a bigger stream, and then those who conjoin into a bigger stream where they feed into a river. And in that river is the river of life, I see of success and things like that. But a lot of those tributaries, that river could not exist without all of those tributaries. So in life, I see the meaning of enough, the meaning of purpose in things is up to each individual to go seek these things out and try everything. Not be afraid to fail. Failure is actually your friend. And if we study a lot of the rich people, as I mentioned, how do they gain wealth? How do they keep things afloat? They know that a lot of them, as they say, the majority of them, diversification is key. They don't have everything, all their money wrapped up in one thing. Like, you'd look at investing such as stocks and bonds and real estate and stuff like that, businesses. They do a lot, Bitcoin, all those they do a lot of different little things. That way, if one thing fails, they got this other thing to jump on. Now, that's good business practices, but in life, I look at, can we replicate that? Can we learn the lessons, the images, the mapping, the topographical map of existence that I just portrayed here of the rich and nature and things like that, and say, how do we form that into our lives? How do we align that? We try many, many things. We invest our energy, not just our money and stuff like that, but our energy, our thought, our creativity, our magic of mind, and our passions, and put them to many, many things. We talked about a lot of people don't know what they want, right? Your children and stuff like that. So we start to ask ourselves these questions. We start to develop this relationship with ourselves, and to find out what is it that we want, and what is it going to take to get us there. And it's going to take, as I recap through the show, it's going to take a lot of time for you to clear the desk, to answer all text, emails, answer yourself, right? When questions come, when people are needing something, you need to let them know you have your word. You need to know for yourself that you own your own word to yourself. It's important for me to make me happy, right? It's important for me to know what I want, and I'm going to invest, and I'm not going to let me down. I think one of the biggest recessions we have is a recession of self. A lot of us have neglected ourselves. Now, I'm not saying to be, a full-blown jerk-off, but be kind to others, but also don't forget about yourself, especially when it comes to children, right? And wanting to help people who are in need and things like that. You got to help yourself first. You have to understand these things. And when you do, you are self-empowered, and then you're able to go into the world and do as many things as you want, whether it's help change the world, helping certain individuals, help yourself. These are the things, the keys, I think, that are very good practices in life, and I think we don't talk enough about them. There's not enough people doing some things, the right type of things, or that's not necessarily the right, but maybe the kind and the necessary things, right? Good life practices. So, guys, that's the show. Okay, guys, that's the end of the show, and I just want to thank each and every one of you guys for being here today and taking the time to listen. And if I brought you guys any value of any type, please, and only if I gave you guys some value, like, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down. If you gave me a thumbs down, tell me why. I would love to hear your opinion on the subject matter. But it really helps the algorithms and for the show to get out. And if I've given you something in return, please feel free to share this show, comment. All of those things help us to develop and keep this show up and running. If you guys want to get a hold of me, the email is down below. It's upandinitshow@gmail.com. So guys, as I always say, go out there and have yourself a near life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire. Human up. Live it, love it, own it, and bone it, my friends.